As you start listening to my words, you might find yourself becoming aware of how easily things flow when you start to believe that nothing I do is ever good enough. It's just a story that's been running in the background of your mind. In fact, the very idea of not being good enough can sometimes feel like a shadow, always there, but hard to touch or pin down. And yet that belief, in its own way, it has a way of shifting and transforming, just like clouds drifting away across the vast open sky. The way a person might feel they have to prove something, even when there's no need. It can be a part of the process. But what if that process can be adjusted so you naturally begin to notice the value in what you've done? Imagine, if you will, that this nothing I do is good enough belief is like an old, worn-out coat. It's heavy, it's uncomfortable, and after wearing it for a while, it becomes almost second nature. But what if, just for a moment, you allowed yourself to loosen the grip on that coat? What would it feel like to set it down, even if just for a brief moment? You might even find, as soon as you start to let it go, a sense of freedom starts to take shape. It's interesting how a small shift in perspective can help you realize there's always something worth noticing, something that's good enough. It's subtle, it's powerful. As you think about this, consider nothing you do, in fact, has to be perfect. It doesn't even have to meet the idealized version that you've been taught to strive for. Instead, each action you take is a learning process, an experiment. You might notice that in experimenting, there are no failures, only outcomes that lead to new ways of seeing. How interesting it is that something as simple as an action can hold the key to shift in a belief. To seeing that you've always been good enough in each step you've taken. Even now, as you think about it, you may realize how all those little moments when you were unsure and uncertain, they've been leading you to a place where you can recognize how much you're truly capable of. And just as your mind easily shifts from one thought to the next, you begin to see how powerful your choices are. When you begin to notice your own value, you'll start to understand how simple it really is to shift from nothing I do is good enough. Everything I do is exactly the right step in the direction that I want to go. It's like turning a page in a book and realizing the story was never about not being enough. It was always about becoming, and you're well on your way. You may even notice, as you reflect on your past actions, how each moment carried its own sense of achievement, even if at first you couldn't see it. The more you reflect, the more you may find that your progress was simply waiting to be noticed. Sometimes, without realizing it, people tend to overlook the smallest victories, the ones that matter the most. And as you continue to evolve and discover more about what you're capable of, you might find yourself thinking that the idea of good enough, it isn't a fixed destination, but an ongoing process. And with each step you realize that nothing you do needs to be measured by some external standard. The value, the importance, it's in the doing itself. This understanding can be subtle, yet it holds such profound power. Each moment you spend doing something, you're already good enough just as you are. Your belief about your abilities becomes more expansive and less restricted with each breath you take. And soon you begin to see the beauty in your natural rhythm and pace. In this very moment, you can embrace the idea the steps you take, no matter how small or large, are good enough. And they always have been. Isn't it fascinating how easily you can start to feel more at ease with yourself? Isn't it powerful how the belief of nothing I do is good enough can dissolve and be replaced with the understanding that each action, each step, each effort, as perfect as it is. With every action, you create more of the life you want, more of the person you're becoming. And when you find yourself moving through your day, you might just notice the more you do, the more you realize you're good enough, always, just as you are. The more you recognize this, the more natural it becomes. It's almost as if the truth is quietly and persistently unfolding within you. With every breath, with every thought, you're good enough, always. And the more you trust this, the easier it becomes to notice how everything, even the smallest actions, lead you to that understanding.